2020 Belgian Grand Prix. How do you find that?
It started off really well, but then I guess it just tapered off towards the end. I think that's like what I
Yeah,
got from it mostly. And the first 20 laps also were like really exciting, and then it just died down.
yeah. Felt like a classic like Mercedes throwback dominant victory when nothing happened.
Mm. Yeah,
Yeah,
that was the one.
this sums up like the turbo hybrid era.
Yeah.
Because I say ever since France last year up until like second British Grand Prix, we just had like every race was good basically. Um, so it's kind of interesting how now getting dull races, even though I would say that um midfield battle is actually good, but for some reason the overtakes aren't there. I don't know why.
Yeah. I guess you could I saw a lot of people be like on Twitter, oh, Mercedes dominance is this, then this, blah, blah, blah. Um, I guess it's like, how would I describe it? How would I describe it? Yeah, yeah. What I was gonna say, yeah. Basically, we've had exciting races. Say like most of this year, mostly apart from like the second Austrian race, I guess, and most of last year. I feel like we've been kind of spoiled, and then now it's just like brought back to reality. You know,
Yeah, yeah,
I don't feel like it wasn't like a bad race. It was just like one of them races like you won't remember after like 2 days.
yeah,
Like you won't
yeah.
remember.
Very forgettable.
Yeah, you won't like remember it unless like someone brings it up in a conversation. Like for example, both British Grand Prix or double headers or whatever. You if someone talks about it, you'll be like remember both of them, and then you'll be like which one type or like. But then this one is just gonna be like, I don't really care for it that much. So it
Yeah,
is what it is.
yeah. I guess we just like jump into like each team. So we just
Mm.
start off with like Mercedes, I guess. Just another like 2020 race for Mercedes, just pure Hamilton is on top of it, pure dominance.
Yeah,
Don't know what else to say about them.
I was quite. It's quite frustrating because I was just checking on Twitter, and you could hear Martin Brundle as well if you watched it on Sky Sports. It was always like, "Oh, come on, Valtteri, give us a race." I feel like Valtteri. I don't know if he tried to give us a race or if he was just content sitting behind Lewis at this point. Because I feel
Yeah,
like he always starts off the season really well. So, for example, last year he started off really well, and this year started off really well. But then he hasn't been in the top two since um, the first race. Well, other than this one. So I don't know. I feel like he doesn't have the hunger to win a champion, like a drivers' championship per se. I feel like Mercedes are very like happy with that. Probably why they gave him a contract. Because if you give like if you have two like alphas in the team, you're more likely to collide and stuff, and you're more likely to throw away your constructors, which is probably what the team care about the most. Like for example, if you look back at Rosberg and Hamilton, I feel like if Rosberg and Hamilton were fighting like that, while let's say Ferrari were really good, so 2018 and 2017, I feel like they easily could have thrown away a constructors. That makes sense.
yeah,
So that's
yeah,
all I gathered from it. I don't feel like Valtteri is going to contend for any drivers' championship anytime soon. I feel like he's just chilling, get his paycheck, probably tell his kids, "Oh, I was a Formula One driver at one point," and then just go home. So that's all.
yeah. Like we heard like over the radio that there was like some sort of there was something wrong in the team about Valtteri not fighting Lewis, and he said like he wasn't aware of it. Um, so can say that maybe he's just like been positioned as a second driver now.
Mm,
Um,
mm,
but I would just simply say that like Valtteri is maximizing what he can do, right? And then Hamilton is maximizing what he can do, and then Hamilton is just
Yeah,
one of the best drivers that's ever been in F1, I would say.
yeah,
But you can't really like. I wouldn't say that like Valtteri is just contempt because he's probably doing just as much work as Lewis, like
yeah. That is
training,
true.
practice on the simulator, going over the data, like setup and everything like that. But I just think that Hamilton's just like one in a billion, like one in a million driver, like
Yeah,
unreal. So I don't
yeah,
know.
I agree with that. But then it's at the same time, it's just like you look across the grid and you see so many, not so many, but you see like a few drivers, and you're just like, you wonder if this guy was given that seat, what could he do?
Yeah,
That makes sense. For example, the most obvious one is Max. It's like, oh, if
yeah,
Max was in that car, what do you think would happen? Or
it
if,
would be really close. I think it would be really
yeah,
close
exactly.
between them.
Or if Leclerc is in that car. I
Yeah,
want to say Vettel, but then most people are like, oh, Vettel's washed. But I feel like he's definitely got something left.
yeah, yeah, maybe.
If this was like two
Um,
years ago, I'd be fighting for the Vettel case, slamming my fist
yeah,
on the desk. But like now, I'm more content to like keep my opinion to myself, then just wait
yeah,
for everyone else to
yeah.
talk.
Um, yeah, I guess that's everything for Mercedes. The
Mm.
next team obviously would be Red Bull. Um, seemed like this weekend that Albon had a lot. Like I would say, it is definitely a much better weekend than
Yeah.
and like since the Austrian races. He did like say at the start of the weekend that because this is like the first race that he's done two races for Red Bull. So he did his first race for Red Bull at Spa last year. So
Yeah. Yeah.
he said that I think that might have helped him actually.
Yeah.
Because going from last year's Toro Rosso to this year's Red Bull is a much bigger difference in like driving style to last year's Red Bull to this year's Red Bull, I would say. Um, but yeah, it seemed like he was more in the fight this weekend. But the thing like I noticed about Albon is that I think it really comes down to qualifying because
Mm.
at the start of the race he's like fighting with like midfield team, like he was fighting with the Renault, right? And then it's like that knocks on for the rest of the race, right? So it's
Yeah.
like if he could just like get ahead and just get a good gap to the midfield cars, I feel like he would be where he should be.
Yeah. I saw this thing on Twitter where someone was like, um, Albon probably hears the car whisper to him, "I belong to Max," or something like that. So that when I saw that,
Yeah,
that really made me laugh. But I agree with you. I feel like this is the first qualifying in a while where he's qualified. I believe he qualified fifth, or I can't really remember. But if I check,
let me check. Yeah, fifth.
yeah, he qualified fifth. Realistically, he should be qualifying like fourth because
Yeah,
second best car, you know. But fifth is not like far away from it. Like it's a lot better than not getting into Q2 than like the other races. So no,
yeah,
not getting into Q3. I mean, like the other races. So
yeah,
um, overall, I can't really complain too much about his performances. The Renaults were really good in Spa, so you know, they're just like
yeah,
it was like, oh, he qualified fifth, and you what did he finish sixth? I believe. Yeah, finished sixth, which is like his normal position now. I feel like if you average out all his positions, sixth is like the position he always finishes. So
yeah,
it's not really. It's just a solid performance, I guess. Just average.
yeah,
Wasn't anything special, but then it wasn't like anything. It wasn't like a disaster. Can't really be like,
yeah.
oh, he should be out of the Red Bull because I feel like he's doing as well as he can in that car, considering the way it drives and stuff.
Yeah, so like if we look at like I'd agree, but if we look at Verstappen, he seems to be up there with Mercedes like every weekend now.
Mm,
I thought it was a really impressive performance. Like he just seems to always prove himself every weekend that he's up there with the Mercedes. Um, yeah, I don't know. It seems like the I said this before, but like I feel like all the cars are roughly around the same area in terms of straight line speed, or at least engine power. Um, I really think that the Mercedes got the edge in Sector 2 this weekend over the
Yeah,
Red
yeah,
Bull.
definitely, definitely.
Yeah.
I feel like, yeah.
So, oh, what were you gonna say?
I was like, and Hamilton got the edge over Bottas. I feel like that was a key sector
Yeah,
because he always nailed that
yeah,
every time, and just purple sector, purple sector, purple sector. I'm just getting annoying to watch, to be honest. So,
yeah, yeah. And with the Red Bulls, um, it seemed like a lot of the teams did similar strategies to the first British Grand Prix.
mm,
Even though there weren't like any punctures this race, it seemed like a lot of the tires were sort of dying towards the end. You could kind of see that with Verstappen, who finished really close to Ricardo in the end.
yeah, I agree with. It's like I feel like the way that F1 is set up now is just like one stop is like infinitely faster than two stops. So it's just like
Yeah,
drivers would much rather drive would much rather like conserve the tires, get in a points position, like get fight their way into a points position, wait, then stop, and then get back into that points position, and then finish the race there because like everyone's going to be in the same boat
yeah,
towards the end. There's no like wacky strategies where like someone pits with like 5 laps left and then they overtake 5 cars, like
yeah.
qubits
Like
of,
F2.
yeah, like F2 or anything. But yeah, I feel like, and I feel like tires, the way the tires are set up now, it's like you have 5 or 6 laps of really fast car, and then all of a sudden your tires are just not there anymore, and like you'll have like 20 laps of like your tire being like really mediocre, and you can't really achieve anything in it. But then after that 20 laps, your tire will explode. If that makes
Yeah,
sense. So I don't know. They just need to. I can't really be like, oh, fix the tires, because I don't really have like a clear solution for it. Because like everyone's proposing like different things, and we don't really know what really goes into it because we're not like Pirelli experts or anything like that. But then
yeah,
it leaves you wanting a certain amount of like performance for like a certain amount of time, rather than oh the tire like being really good for long stints, but then not being you're not being able to like push it to like where the car can really go.
yeah, yeah. I think like the perfect way of like I think that races should be like 2 or 3 stops. That's like the maximum, like the perfect spot for me. Um,
Mm-hmm.
we had that in 2012. Races would almost always be 2 stops minimum. Because like we saw in the 70th anniversary Grand Prix that when you take when you make the tires softer, then it allows for more variables. So it means like cars like Verstappen um could were able to get to the front because the sort
Yeah.
of strategy, and it seems like the Red Bull is better on softer tires than compared to like being on the harder tires relative to Mercedes. Um yeah, it's like what tires is like one of these things where it's like we're always going to be talking about it. There's never going to be like a perfect solution.
Yeah, I
Um
agree.
it's just like I feel like they should just like come to a decision and like, okay, this is the way that F1 is supposed to be. Like that's the end of the debate, right? So
Mm-hmm.
um
Depends.
but
Yeah.
yeah, I think like because like the cars get faster each year, is like the pit stops don't the pit stops are always like the same time, right? Because pit lane limitation. But it's
Mm.
like as the cars get faster, the gap between the relative gap of having a pit stop is bigger. Um, so it's like if you compare like to 2012 to now, like a pit stop is more a lot bigger gap than it would have been back then.
what gap to like when you say
because like if you take it as like a percentage of the lap time, it's a lot bigger now because the cars are so much
oh yeah, yeah,
faster.
yeah, I get you, I get you. But then
Yeah,
I don't know if I like necessarily agree with that in the sense that if every single
really.
car is faster, like if you like,
Yeah, I guess like if every car is faster, then it all like balances out.
yeah,
But I feel like because like taking a gamble stop costs you way more nowadays. And
yeah,
then you don't get the benefit of the tires as much as well. So that's like why we don't see
oh
as like
yeah,
interesting strategies.
yeah. No, because if you look at it, like a pit stop's always been like 19 seconds
Yeah,
in a sense, and then as well as like back in like a few years ago, pit stop like a normal stationary pit stop would be like 3 seconds or over, like nothing under 3 seconds. Now like the normal pit stop's like 2.5.
yeah,
So I don't know. It's all about like everything in F1's evolving. Like I feel like they're evolving at like a similar rate. So then like there's no
yeah,
like clear disparity in anything. So like if we had the same pit stop crew as like back like 5 years ago, like pit stops would be like, oh, we don't even want to do pit stops, anything like that. So
yeah,
I don't know, but like pit stop strategy, I feel like is getting like is dying, like in general. I feel like we haven't seen an undercut attempt in like a while, like a good
yeah,
like a good undercut attempt.
yeah. It
But
seems like the overcut is the obvious like alternate strategy if there ever is one. Like people like love doing like ever since like 2017, I'd say that the overcut is always
yeah,
like the overcut is the only one that ever works.
now well in 2017 and 18, the undercut worked in for Ferrari. Well, actually, one of them was a safety car, but one of them was a undercut in Australia where Vettel undercut Hamilton.
Yeah,
But I feel like that's just one.
with
One
virtual with the virtual safety car.
I
Yeah,
feel like it's just a one-off like case. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Like there was people. If there's undercut, like if undercut's like the most go-to strategy in F1, I feel like people complain about it more than overcut anyway. Because everyone's gonna be like, oh,
yeah,
we want to see on-track overtaking and not like, oh, I my pit
yeah,
stop crew is
yeah,
faster and I have new tires, so I'm faster than that person.
yeah,
So I don't know, but I want to see like everything, every single like overtaking, pit stop strategy, like on track overtaking. Like I want it all like on the table. I don't want it to be like, oh, you want if you want undercut, you can't have overcut and you can't have on track overtaking. But if you want overcut, you
yeah,
can't have undercut and on track overtaking. But if you want on track overtaking, you can't have either or anything like that. You know what I
yeah,
mean? I feel like with F1, it's like you can have this, but you can't have that. Instead of like
yeah,
everything like being good about like a certain um like a certain like if there's like a certain car like regulations and stuff, there's always something good about like each different like car type and like regulations and stuff.
yeah,
And I don't know if it's even possible, but that's just me as a fan speaking, because obviously I'm not like a engineer or a F1 expert or anything, but I don't know if it's possible to get every single good thing about different eras of F1 and then just bring it all into like one like
yeah,
thing. But then that's like obviously this is just me speaking out loud, but then it could be like, oh, if all of these things are good and it's all like a factor in each race and like everything's just a factor in each race, it might just result in like boring racing where like everything cancels out.
yeah,
So like there's no like perfect world where we can be like, oh,
yeah,
this is the clear solution to all the problems. Where I feel like
yeah,
it has to be trial and error, and you have to just try everything. I feel like F1 teams are like too scared. F1 teams and the F1 bosses are too scared to just try everything, because like if the racing is really boring, then TV rating goes down, and then if TV rating goes down, they all lose money. Then if like the
yeah,
racing is really good, then obviously ratings would not necessarily go up as much as they would go down if they were bad. So like
Yeah,
they have like less to gain than they have less to gain than they would lose, if that makes sense.
yeah. But I think for me, I would say like TV ratings, the biggest like impact of TV ratings would be like championship hours. Like that's what really sells in F1 is
Yes,
um
yes,
like 2010, 2012, like those are like the big ones, like 2016 as well and 2014.
mm,
But like we haven't had properly had like one of those in such a long time that I'd feel like
yeah,
when it's just like Hamilton winning, people like don't want to watch. So,
yeah,
but that's kind of a separate issue that you can't really.
yeah. You can't like,
That's like a
yeah,
that's a big problem like overall, which they're trying to fix, like new
yeah. You can't
regulations and
like
stuff, right? Cost caps and
yeah,
stuff like that.
yeah. You can't like artificially create a championship. You know,
Yeah,
you need like drivers on like a similar level, not even a similar level. You just need like two decent drivers um in like similar cars, for example. Or like, how would you say it? Let's say if a driver's talent added to a car's performance is like the overall package, you need the overall package to be the same, if that makes sense. So like you could
yeah,
have a less talented driver but in a better car
yeah,
is equal to like a worse or is equal to a worse car in a and a better driver. So for example,
yeah. So
Alonso.
like that's like 20
Oh
2012 in
yeah,
Alonso.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
So like, I feel like it has to be. There's just loads of different factors, and like I don't feel like you can create a really good championship
yeah. It
battle.
all has to be. It all has to be like a natural thing. Like
Yeah,
20, like going into 2012. Like I remember at the time, like no one was saying at the time, like, oh, this is going to be like a great year for F1. Like it was just like
mm,
a thing where it was like, you like people were complaining about the tires, people were complaining about the tracks, people were complaining about the new stepped noses.
yeah,
No one was like happy about 2012, but like it just turned out that way that we had a good year. We had like battles, like we had
yeah,
interesting races, interesting strategies. So it's like you never know like when stuff like that's gonna happen. Like, or I wouldn't say next year because next year isn't
no,
going to be like that good. But
no,
like 2022 could be a good year, or 2023 could be 24. I don't know. So
I don't know. I don't necessarily get my hopes up with those like certain things. I'll be looking
yeah,
forward to it, but I won't be like, oh, this is going to be a good year, because
yeah,
from the time I watched F1, obviously I watched it like beginning like 2005 and like stuff, but I wasn't like old enough to like necessarily remember 2005, 2006, but I remember 2007 watching that clearly. 2007, 2008, 2009, 2010 and 2012, all of those went to like the last race, and it was like a really exciting thing to watch. Obviously 2000 and what do you call it, 14 to like 16 were like exciting in the sense that, oh, it's going down to the
yeah.
wire. But
It's like with that example, like I would say that like 2015 is like one is not was like not a good year for everyone. Like
yeah,
racing was so stale, and it was just like Mercedes victories, and even though like we had Rosberg v Hamilton, it was still like not an interesting year. I would say the same thing. Yeah, like 2015, 2016 was better. But still, like, I would say it was like
yeah, yeah, that's the thing, because I feel like when it's one team being so dominant and and being like so ahead of the pack like Mercedes were in those 3 years, when it's just down to those two drivers, I guess it like leaves room for them to like maybe like collide or whatever, and they're able to do this and do that because the constructors isn't really on the line because they win like every other race, and they have like free reign to do what they want. I guess it's like you can be like, oh, this is decent, but it's not like what I want to see, because I want to see different cars race against each other rather than seeing two twin cars race against each other, and one guy is obviously better than the other guy, and he only lost the championship because of reliability issues. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
think that's the thing with Rosberg and Hamilton. Like Rosberg is like a great driver, don't get me wrong, but when I look at that 2016 World Championship, I'm like, it's got an asterisk next to it, realistically. And then he
Yeah.
retired the year after, which kind of no, and then he retired the year he won it, which kind of left a bad taste in
Yeah.
my mouth because I feel like he knew that he couldn't win another one, and that people would say, "Oh, this was like a fluke." Not a fluke, but he was really
Yeah.
fortunate to win it, and
Yeah.
he wasn't gonna because when I look at that 2017 and 2018 championships with Vettel and Hamilton, obviously we've both had the conversation where it's like, oh, if Ferrari did this, and this differently, and Vettel did this, and this differently, they would have won that championship easily. But then I feel like, oh, if Rosberg was in the mix, it would have been like overall more exciting, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because I feel like we would never see Rosberg get a Valtteri St James moment type thing, especially if he's a world champion. So like, I feel like we were robbed in that sense, and I feel like when it's more drivers in the mix and it's not like two head to head, two drivers where it's only two drivers head to head, and there's more like people in the mix like able to like win a championship, it's more exciting because
Yeah.
let's say if one driver has like two bad weekends in a row and the other driver is just really consistent like Hamilton was, the championship's over. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, in 2010 or 2012, for example, no, not really 2012. I say 2010 is like the main example because we had six guys going into this penultimate race, like having a chance, and then no, six guys, five guys going into the penultimate race having like a chance. And then before that, it was always like, oh, this championship contender crashed, and these three gained good points, and this one finished outside the top 10. So then the championship lead is gone and changed. You know, so
Yeah.
like you're always on like you're always wondering who's gonna do this, who's gonna do that, who's gonna do this. But then obviously, I don't think we'll ever get a case like 2010 or 2012 ever again.
No, I think we will.
Um,
I think we will.
well, you might get 2012 because everyone was just winning that year. Because like, I don't know what drugs they used on the cars that year. Because all of a sudden, a Williams is winning a Grand Prix, which is we're not going to get into that. We're not going to get into that, but well, but like 2010, we had five drivers able to win a championship. We had three drivers that were already champions at that point. We had one of them became the champion and later a four-time champion, and another really solid driver. I don't feel like we'll get a grid like that in a long time.
Yeah, a long time maybe I would say.
Yeah, because I
but
feel like when I look at like specific driver talents and whatever, I feel like, oh, Hamilton, Verstappen are like the best two drivers. Obviously, there's Leclerc there, but his car is shit. There's like Vettel here, who's obviously proven he can win a championship, and then he's always got like a question mark next to him. Like, is he going to
yeah.
go to Aston Martin? Is the Aston Martin going to be good, or is he going to make mistakes? You know. And then we're all sat here like wondering what's really going to happen. So,
Yeah.
and I don't feel like
Yeah.
before anyone says Ricardo and McLaren or any of that, McLaren is washed. McLaren is never going to be good again. McLaren is like Williams. I don't care what anyone says. If McLaren in the next 10 years win a championship, I'll take back everything I said about McLaren. McLaren are never coming back. Because if you think about it, last time McLaren contended for a championship was 2012.
Yeah.
That's 8 years ago. McLaren went from and the year that they had, in that year 2012, they had the best car by a long distance, but they just didn't have reliability issues and they had bad pit stops.
That's a debate, bro. Bro, I could spend like an hour debating that. Like, that is such a big statement to me.
It is a big statement because it's true. McLaren had the best car. Look, if you looked at qualifying and performances and and just everything across the board, McLaren had the best car that year. Literally, you could look
Maybe.
at the BBC graph. I saw the BBC graph. McLaren were number one best car that year, but somehow they weren't even in the last race contending. So we can like exchange that, but I don't know.
With Lewis Hamilton drivers.
And Jenson Button
So what does that tell
and
you?
Jenson Button, not even like.
Yeah.
But then
But yeah. Anyway, like I don't know. I don't know how like F1 how it's gonna work out, but
yeah,
maybe like if we go back to like this race, I guess.
yeah. Okay, let's get back to
Um,
this race. What team would talk about?
Renault.
Oh, Renault.
I want to like say like, did we have we like? Would you say
Hmm?
that we've like underestimated? Would you say that we've underestimated Renault this year? Because we've obviously
Definitely,
like gone
definitely.
hard on like Renault a lot, but this is like the first race since they've come back since like 2016 where it's like they've actually been like an impressive team. I would say.
Yeah, this is the thing with Renault. When you say impressive team, it's like fourth or fifth is like impressive for them. It's kind of saying something, but um, I feel like they finished fourth and fifth before in like a few races in the past when they've come back, but it's like that's due to like safety car or like certain drivers like not finishing and stuff. Um, Obviously, Ricardo did say a while ago that they could definitely finish third in the constructors championship, and after that performance, it's definitely very, 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 very realistic.
Yeah.
Obviously, they do have a long way to go before they're like a big team again, you know, before like
Yeah.
because I feel like most people that watch F1 now don't really consider Renault a big constructor. If that makes sense, even though they're a works team, they're not like a big constructor in the sense that like they were back in the day. People would be like, "Oh, Renault, two-time champions with Fernando Alonso, blah blah blah." Um, yeah, but I was impressed by their performance in Belgium. I feel like the Renault engine is actually at a good state now. Got a decent car, and they have Daniel Ricciardo, who's arguably I don't know where you want to put him in your like driver list, but I reckon he's floating around top five. I'd say. Um,
Yeah.
I feel like I feel
It all depends on like George Russell. I would say. I don't know. I can't really rate George Russell yet. So
yeah. I don't feel like it's out there to be like Daniel Ricciardo is like a top five driver. I don't feel like that's outlandish or like a really big
yeah.
statement
Yeah. Yeah.
because like we can list it off because yeah, but Ocon was really impressive as well. Um, Finishing after coming fifth. Obviously, he overtook Albon for that position after he lost it in the what do you call it safety car exchange. So yeah, there's not really anything I can complain about Renault. Obviously, I do enjoy like bashing them and Ferrari, but that's only because it's from a place of it's not from a place of like hate or animosity or
Yeah.
anything like that. It's
Yeah.
because I see what they should be. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
I see like where Ferrari and Renault should be in this like grid. You know, I feel like they should be like somewhere wedged around Red Bull and Ferrari. No, Red Bull and Mercedes. That's where I feel like they should be like floating around there
Yeah.
and contending for
Yeah.
podiums and
I'm
stuff.
kind of the same. Like I'm kind of the same. Where it's like oh yeah, Ferrari is so bad. It's like not that like we're like hate Ferrari. It's just that like we've seen like where Ferrari could be and where we've seen where like Ferrari, Renault, McLaren, um,
Mm,
and Red Bull to a certain extent. I would all say like they should like they're the teams that like I would put to like match
Mercedes,
Mercedes.
yes,
Like if you look at like their history, it's like that's like we kind of like we're a bit like more pushy about those teams because they're like they should be up there with Mercedes. It's
yes,
like if Alfa Romeo have problems, it's like I'm not gonna like complain because it's like
It's Alfa
Alfa Romeo are
Romeo.
like a tin pot team. Like,
Yeah, they're
like,
literally called Sauber. Like I don't care. It's like,
yeah. But
and yeah,
going back to like Renault, I would say that like this weekend is impressive, but um, so got next weekend we've got Italy, and then the weekend after we have Mugello. So it's like if they do well next weekend, and then they're going back to like not scoring points at Mugello, we can obviously say, okay, well, it's obviously because um Renault have a straight line speed
mm,
and a car, kind of like Williams in 2014, where it's like, okay, yeah, you put Williams on a straight, and it's
yeah.
like they'll do good. So maybe this is just like an asterisk sort of race.
Oh
There
yeah,
might there might be other problems with like the chassis. Like if we went to like Monaco or Singapore, I don't Renault would be doing that good, and there might be problems with strategy, but we don't seem to like notice as much. Like
yeah,
sort of a bit of a midfield team.
yeah. I agree.
Um,
Yeah, it all depends. Obviously, I feel
yeah,
like now cars aren't like, I don't know, the way the tracks are set up and like everything. I feel like you can't have a car that's like, oh, this car is really good in a straight line, but it's not that good in corners. Or if this car is really, really good in
yeah,
corners, but it's not that good in straight line. I feel like you have to have an overall package to really contend. It's not.
yeah.
This is not. This is
It's like
not.
we've seen with Ferrari. Ferrari always went for the straight line speed, and it's never worked.
Yeah. Well. I will say. Ferrari in 2019, I think they went all in for the straight line speed, and it's kind of like that was really backfired. I feel like the 2 years before
Yeah,
that, I feel like they had a really good overall package, and I guess a few things just went against them. But
yeah,
we're not going to talk about Ferrari yet because, but yeah, Renault, yeah, were pretty decent. Obviously, before these races before, I was kind of sleeping on them. And when I say sleeping, I was like hibernating, not really sleeping. I was really in my bed, blanket on, got the night mask on, over my eyes. I have the air conditioning on, and I'm really relaxing, and I'm really appreciating this nap, and I'm having lucid dreams and stuff. That's how deep my sleep was. But now I'm kind of like, it's not like I'm awake and I'm like really like, oh yeah, Renault are sick. I've got one eye open. Got one eye open. I'm like
yeah,
keeping an eye on them, seeing like where they are in the next few races. If they look, if all of a sudden Renault's like the third best team for the next like 5 races, I guess Daniel Ricciardo is right, and yeah, they could be the third best constructor,
yeah,
and he might have made a mistake moving to McLaren, but
yeah. Well, yeah, that is like a bigger question of like, what does this like? Obviously, Spa straight line dependent track,
mm,
low downforce. There's no way around it. So I don't know what this race says about McLaren, especially seeing as they have the same engine, because McLaren didn't really seem to be anywhere this weekend.
yeah,
So maybe McLaren have problems with their chassis than we, especially like with straight lines.
mm, yeah. Actually, do you want to get on to McLaren because? Oh wait, or to the next
Yeah,
team because I feel like
yeah,
we've said everything we
McLaren.
need to say about what do you call it, Renault.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, Carlos Sainz didn't start. Um, didn't start the race, which is kind of unlucky. And Lando Norris finished seventh, and qualified 10th, and Sainz qualified 7th. So that's just the
yeah,
overall like performance of the McLaren team. Um, yeah, that was just a solid weekend from them. It wasn't like anything too bad because I feel like everyone this year when they got the first like podium with Lando, I feel like everyone was like over hyping McLaren and just seeing the podium and seeing the third place rather than just
yeah,
processing like what actually happened in that race where like Hamilton got a 5 second penalty, Albon basically crashed out, Verstappen didn't finish, and they actually finished behind a Ferrari. So was that really a great performance? No, I feel like they would have finished like sixth if everyone else finished where they were supposed to finish. No, not even sixth, like seventh or eighth. So if you look at this from like an objective point of view, I don't feel like McLaren were like a really amazing team, and I feel like we've all like overstated and overestimated what they could really do. In the sense that everyone was like, oh, McLaren's back, they got a podium, McLaren's back. They always say McLaren's back. I feel like they've done this when in 2015 when they first got that podium with Kevin Magnussen and Jenson Button, and was like, oh, McLaren's back. Last year they did it with when Sainz got that podium in Brazil, because and obviously that one had a lot of factors going into it with Albon crashing out, spinning off, and Hamilton knocking him out. So it's just like I feel like McLaren are just a midfield, middle of the midfield team now. Maybe at the head of the midfield, but like I feel like they're either the best team in the midfield on a given weekend, or the third best team in the midfield. That's what I've got from McLaren.
Yeah. Or like I kind of want to like broaden this out to like midfield as a whole, because it seems that it's like looking from the qualifying results, it's literally just like Renault, McLaren, Racing Point, Ferrari as well. I feel like well, not Ferrari because Ferrari like back, but like, I feel like Renault, McLaren, and Racing Point could be like the third best team any weekend.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah, because like coming on to like Racing Point, I would say that like I would expect them to be like right up, like this track would like suit their car like perfectly. But
yeah,
they weren't really like overwhelmingly like amazing.
Yeah. We're getting on to Racing Point.
Yeah.
Yeah, they finished 9th and 10th. It's kind of like I looked at it and I was just like, I don't really understand how this is happening. And I saw that flipping pit stop strategy with Perez, and I was just wondering what are they doing? I was like, there's a safety car. He's on soft tires. It's a free pit stop. And when it's a free pit stop, like everyone's pitting. You're not gonna lose any you're not gonna lose track position. You're probably gonna come out like maybe one position worse off if you like pit, depending on what lap you pit, because there was like a two lap window where you could like pit.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was better. I can't really remember if it was better later or to pit earlier or later, but it was like
yeah.
But then they left him out with dead tires basically, and then they just crucified his race. And
yeah,
he finished. They always do. Yeah, they always do this shit. Yeah, they always. It's a conspiracy. There's a conspiracy theory starting now. They did this with Hulkenberg, where they pit him, and Hulkenberg came out after what do you call it, Stroll, because and everyone's just looking at this like they kind of pit him just so that he didn't finish after Stroll. You know, I feel like it's a credit. I feel like this is a very credible conspiracy theory, if you can call it that. But now they did it with Perez, and I'm just wondering why. Just why? Just if they box him, I feel like he could have gone towards the end of the race, and I feel like he probably would have finished ahead of what do you call it, Stroll anyway. But I feel like it would have just been interchangeable. Like one finishes 9th and the other one finishes 10th instead. So
yeah. I think like with Racing Point, I'd definitely say like all the drama we've had this year about like Racing Point, even like going back to preseason testing, like I really feel that Racing Point have been like, even like I have like minorly like overhyped them, to be honest. Like
yeah, we both have.
I was kind of like if you go back to 2017, they were better than they are now, like relatively, if you know what I mean. Like
yeah, but like
2017, like they were the definite like 4th best team. But they're not even like that now.
Yeah, but the thing is with 2017, that one was like a different, what do you call it, different year in the sense that the top 3 teams just locked out everything, like top 6 every single time, unless like one of them like didn't finish.
Yeah.
obviously now Ferrari have just like gone to like they've just wandered off. Yeah. I'm not really gonna look. We're saving. Look, I want to get into Ferrari every single time I mention that name. I want to get into like a rant, but I have something saved. I have something
Yeah, we're
saved for
gonna,
them.
bro.
But yeah, the way what do you call it? Racing Point. The car was set up. I just looked at this car and I was just like, this track is, their type of track or something. I don't know if it's like whether it's like the team aren't like experienced with like being really, 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 really good. Like because some teams like might be just used to like being a midfield team and they're used to mediocrity, and they might just be like, oh, let's just get a few points today. Like let's finish seventh as our best possible finishing position. And I don't know if they have like any like, it might not be that they have enough like self confidence in their car or whatever. I think that might just be the issue, because I look at that car and I'm like, this car is like really good. So I don't know. I guess that's all I can say about Racing Point.
Yeah. I'm just looking at like the championship standings for the midfield mainly, and it's just like all like jumbled up like in those three teams. Apart from like Charles Leclerc, who's just like, I don't know how he's in fifth, to be honest. But
Yeah, but that
like,
that is,
yeah,
I don't know what Charles did. No, because he finished from the podium twice. I'm like,
yeah,
no, but I feel like those podiums were like, not to take anything away from him, because
flukes basically.
obviously you have to be, if you're on the racetrack, you have to be in the right place at the right time, ready for anything.
Yeah,
Like if the people ahead of you don't finish and you somehow get a podium twice, I don't feel like it's luck. I feel like you're just prepared. That's the word, prepared. Yeah. So yeah, I feel like,
but yeah. Anyway, like it's just like I feel like this year in the midfield, especially, is like it's just going to be like a sort of like 2010. We were saying about the championship. Like it's just going to like turn out the way it turns out. Like whoever's like finishing in the points or like has unlucky races. I think that's just how it's going to play out. Like I feel like the teams are kind of like about the same place now.
Yeah, because Renault,
yeah,
Renault, which is the sixth place team, and McLaren, which is the third place team. There's only 9 points separating them, and then you have Racing Point and Ferrari in between those two. So yeah, I feel like it's going to be. I feel like that's going to be the most interesting part of the whole year, to be honest. I feel like everyone in F1, like as a fan base, is like, stop caring about who wins unless you're like a Lewis Hamilton fanboy, and if you are, you can fuck off. So yeah, so like everyone's just like, oh, we don't really care about the lead teams. Care about Renault, Ferrari, Racing Point, and McLaren. Yeah, that's the team, McLaren. Yeah, so I feel like once they get this right, I feel like, yeah, it's just interchangeable within those four teams. I would definitely include Ferrari in that midfield battle. I feel like Ferrari might come out on top in the midfield battle, depending on the tracks that they might bring in.
Yeah.
But that's just due to like Ferrari having like winning experience and they know how to like grind a result out. I feel like these other teams, like the people in charge and stuff, I feel like whenever it's like Force India in 2017, whenever they have like a chance to get like a podium or a win, they just shit themselves and they don't know like what to do. This has always happened with these midfield teams, and that's what I'm mainly worried about when Racing Point become Aston Martin next year. If they don't shit the bed.
Williams in 2015 as well.
Williams absolutely. I don't even know what they did ran. That Silverstone, that was just a free win right there, and they just bottled it. Yeah.
But anyway, I think that's about it for the midfield. But
yeah,
I feel like we need to like tackle let's do Ferrari. I feel like we should do Ferrari first, just like get it out.
Just get out and nah, because
Yeah.
I feel like okay, we can do Ferrari. Do you want to
Yeah.
start or do it?
I'll start by just saying like I feel like this would be like the last time we have like a Ferrari thing because I can tell um like I made this like video on Twitter on the Twitter account and it was like saying like
Yeah.
oh like last weekend I was saying like oh they're not going to score points and it's like cuts to them just like this weekend yeah like what I was saying is this should be like the last like Ferrari run we have because like it's not going to get worse than this. So this like race overall just completely proves that the Ferrari like there's no hiding it anymore that like the Ferrari engine last year was like a cheat and that's why they're so poor now.
Wait, you can't go from the
So
fastest car in the straight line to the slowest, like Ferrari powered engines.
yeah.
Like Ferrari were on par with the Williams. I've never seen that in my
Yeah.
life before. In my life,
Yeah.
yeah, that team just pisses me off. Because I don't even understand why they had to do that flipping whole BS with the burning oil thing. I feel like their engine before were like let's say if you, because I was making this point to Cal earlier before the recording. If engine development is a road and there's like different turns and stuff, everyone else went left and Ferrari were like the only team that went right, and now they have to like reverse and they have to go to like where the crossroads was, and then they have to follow everyone else now, so then they have to catch up. But the problem with that is
Yeah.
obviously engines are set until then next year they're set. These are the same engines you have, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then even the years after that
Even
as
the
well,
years
I
after
think
that.
up
So
until, like 2024 or something
yeah,
like
so
that.
like they're not winning a race till not winning well. They're not contending for a championship until like 2024. And like Carlos Sainz is just sitting there after he signed that Ferrari contract.
Yeah.
Bro, Carlos Sainz got offered this contract with decent like paycheck and stuff, and he saw that Ferrari logo with the black horse and stuff, and he just shot himself.
Yeah,
And
that
he,
Ferrari, that Ferrari badge, that
yeah,
shiny
yeah,
badge,
he
just
saw that
like
shiny
the top
he
of the
saw that
paycheck.
shiny badge, yeah, and then he dozed off while they were in negotiations, and he imagines himself in that red overall, and he was just like, oh my god, this is my dream. Every driver wants to drive for Ferrari. There is no driver on the grid that doesn't want to drive for Ferrari. It is the best team, the biggest team. And now he's looking at it, watching the race from his grid, wherever his grid or his garage in the flipping paddock, just chilling there, watching this race, and he's just like, oh, come on, Lando. And then he looks, yeah, as Lando breezes past Leclerc after Leclerc had an amazing start, and he's just wondering, I'm driving that car next year. The car I'm driving this year just absolutely demolished the other car, the car that I'm supposed to be driving next year, in a straight line. So Carlos Sainz is trapped. He's cursed.
Yeah.
Charles Leclerc, I don't know, man. And after the first lap, I thought this guy did like an amazing job. He went from like 14th to 9th or something ridiculous like that. And I was just like, whoa, what did Charles Leclerc do? Like he gained like 5 positions. And then I realized this guy's losing positions bit by like everyone's just walking past him, man. And they're not walking past him, man. They're not walking past him, they're not running past him, they're not driving past him. They're doing pirouettes and like leaps and stuff, and they're skipping. And they're like bye bye. And then they're waving back. They take time to stop the car and wave back while this Ferrari tractor is trying to flipping catch up. That's all I see. It's like your engine can be bad, right? But then you can't have a bad chassis as well. Like you can't fuck up everything. You can't fuck up everything. It's like, oh
Yeah. I don't think the chassis is that bad. Because you saw at Spain like they weren't overly like off like this weekend. So I like, bro, I remember like before pre-season testing, I remember seeing that car and I was just like, this year is going to be so bad because that car is so similar to last year. You look at Mercedes and they've just got this hyper imagined like
Yeah,
rocket ship on wheels, and I don't know.
yeah, I don't really understand.
Yeah, I really don't know. I think this is all just a consequence of their cheating, really. I mean, that's what they get if they're gonna if you're gonna take risks with the rules. I mean, you're gonna have to,
Yeah,
you're gonna have to, like, if you get found out, then you're gonna have to pay the consequence for it. But I found like this like table from how much prize money teams get.
yeah.
You look down the table and you look at Racing Point. Racing Point get almost $60 million a year, and then you go to the top of the table and you see Ferrari. They get over $200 million a year. Obviously that's like because where they finished in the previous years, but Ferrari get almost double what Racing Point get in just bonus prize money. That is it is unbelievable to me that like the fact that Ferrari have that much like money, and they're almost like almost not in the points, says it all.
The thing is with Ferrari, I'm just sat here, I'm just looking at it, and I'm just like, Renault. When you look at Renault have an excuse. They haven't been in F1 for like, I don't know how long. They haven't been at F1 for like a prolonged period. When did Renault come into F1 as a team?
They came back in 2016.
26.
The first proper year was 2017, really.
Yeah, so if you want to say 2016 to 2009, there's 7 years. Or if you want to be like technical, like Cal, 8 years of like they're just not in F1 for like 8 years or whatever. They're just making engines. All right.
Yeah.
Ferrari have been in F1 since it started. There's like no reason for you to like have this major drop off in performance. I don't know.
Yeah.
This is the thing I don't understand. Is like when we look at Ferrari in 2019, their engine was illegal. I think that's confirmed. We've basically confirmed that. Just using our just brain usage. Like just
using our eyes.
Just using your eyes and brains and everything. Like you can see when the car is 2 seconds slower than it was last year, and Mercedes is like a second faster than it was last year, and breaking all these flipping types of lap records. You can kind of make the detective, Sherlock Holmes decision to be like, this engine was illegal last year. But then you look at 2018, 2017, and the way that Ferrari, the team was in 2018 and 2017, they were contending. They were definitely a top 2 team. They were the best car or the best team at certain points during the year. Obviously, they made a few mistakes here and they made a few mistakes there, which is like, I can have like a whole rant about that, in the sense that how can you be making mistakes as a championship winning team? But anyway, I'll be like, okay, let's move past that. Let's go into 2019. Just carry on your development and you should have a chance, But then they went, they got the drawing board that they had, the whole drawing board, with all these like amazing, innovative ideas that they came up with in 2007, that was really giving them, the chance to fight for a championship, and they just rubbed it out, and they're just like straight line speed. Let's go for straight line speed, low drag. And then there was some guy in the office. Yeah. I guarantee there was someone in the office. I can just say this now. Someone in the office, there's an Einstein in the office. It's just like, what about cornering? What about low speed and high speed corners? And they just like, get out. They just kicked them out, and they just went in for this.
Yeah, it's that classic meme format, like where he gets kicked out the window.
Yeah, they just threw him out the window, and it was just like, I don't know, like. Am I like crazy to assume that an F1 team should like prioritize a good overall package compared to just straight line speed? Am I crazy?
Yeah.
Like 12-year-old
and Vettel Vettel is like that. Like it's been a story that Vettel has been constantly complaining about like Ferrari's development of like just straight line speed. Because yeah, last year was like in terms of aero and chassis was like a major like downfall, and then they had the engine, and it's like oh the engine's illegal, so like now they have nothing.
Yeah, no, but that's what I'm saying though, because when you have that engine taken away from you, and now so basically you're starting from 2018. Everyone had 2008 19 to really
Yeah.
develop their
Well,
engine, and they're
like I feel like it could be even like further back, like maybe even like 2017, 2016, because
yeah,
I remember them talking about it in 2018 of like because like 2018 was the first year where it seemed like Ferrari had like a better engine than Mercedes, and they were talking about oil burning. So I feel like it could be like
yeah, but
multiple iterations back now.
yeah, so like, but it's like you're starting from 2016 of like really trying to develop your engine. I don't know, maybe you can tell the guys in the aero department just, you know, make the car really good in corners at least. So like you can stand a chance in like
Yeah,
these tracks with low speed, um, like basically with the tracks with no straight lines or whatever, like Hungary for example.
yeah,
So like I don't know, but that's just me speaking from like hindsight. Hindsight's 2020. So like,
yeah.
but I feel like someone with an engineering degree that's been in flipping developing F1 cars for like 20 plus years with with that Ferrari badge on his jacket should really be like, yo, we should do this, we should focus on cornering and like the overall stability of our chassis and the aero department and the durability of our
Like
car.
they did that in 2017. That's the problem. Is like in 2017 they were like the best in that area. So it's like I don't know what's happened since then. I feel like Mercedes are just like invested so heavily. I don't know. I think like it really is like comes down to Mercedes, I guess.
That's the thing. I saw a video on my YouTube recommended, and I was like, "Why Ferrari's illegal engine made for Mercedes even faster?" And then I started laughing, and I knew this was gonna kind of piss me off. So then I was like, you know what? Let's click on this, and then they're like, "Oh, since the Ferrari engine was so illegal, and like the disparity between Ferrari and the rest of the field was like a decent gap, Mercedes decided to like pump all their resources and everything into that Mercedes engine to make it the best engine on the grid. And then coincidentally, Ferrari's engine got banned. So I feel like even if Ferrari were allowed that 2019 engine, they'd probably be the third best team. Not even like better than Red Bull, which is
Yeah,
kind of messed up.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
and even
So
Red Bull
wait,
has
so
issues.
like,
Huh?
well, we obviously like have the engine and everything. That's like one thing, but another thing with Ferrari, I would say is that like people on Twitter have been really like highlighting like how like they've just like literally just cast Vettel out of the team at this point. Like I
Yeah.
don't know what's going on in that team, but they just like seem to hate Vettel now. I don't know why, but
I don't know. I don't feel like Vettel has given them. If you look at overall, his whole tenure at Ferrari, I don't feel like he's given them like a pure. This is why I can't be in the team reason.
yeah,
Um, Obviously he's like maybe like messed up in 2018 that championship, or messed up a few races in 2017. But I feel like Ferrari has like equally messed up, if not more. So like
yeah,
there wasn't like any clear reason for him to be like kicked out of that team. I think
yeah,
maybe they were just like, oh, we want, since Charles kind of outperformed him, you could say, um, in 2019, everyone was like, oh, he absolutely wrecked Vettel. It wasn't even like that. He only finished like 20 something points ahead of him, and Vettel had like one less race on his thing. If So it's like if you
Yeah.
look at it, it's like it was kind of even. You could make the case for it being even, but I feel like maybe it was a race in Russia where it was just like really like clear, like highlighted that the team isn't like working together anymore because they were like, oh, at the beginning of the race, Leclerc's gonna give Vettel slipstream so that he can get past Hamilton and he can go first into the first corner, and then a few laps later he's gonna give your position back. And I've never heard of that being like a thing ever in F1 where they plan someone overtaking them and then them overtaking in the beginning
Yeah.
of a race. So then Vettel obviously was just a bit like, I like being first. I like clear air. I don't really want to, give this position back. And then they boxed Leclerc first and they gave him the undercut. And I've never seen anything like that before in my life. So I feel like that was where like the relationship really like broke down, and it was like clear like, oh, these two don't really want to.
Yeah. It's like I feel like it's just like it's just like a super like petty like Ferrari thing where it's like, oh, like we were expecting you to be like the next like champion when you came in 2015, and it's like, oh, in 2019, oh, like it seemed like, oh, that you haven't been amazing and you haven't won, so it's like, oh, we're just gonna cast you out now, like no reason.
Oh, it's whatever.
So I don't know.
I feel like Vettel kind of got a break. He kind of escaped something he didn't really want to be part of, to be honest. So he's very lucky, very very lucky.
Yeah.
Um,
But it's like also like on the other side of that is like people are saying like, oh, like Mattia Bonotto is like this like evil like guy like sitting in his chair with a cigar or whatever. Like you need to like get Mattia out or whatever. But it's like you could like take any like bro, you could like take Toto Wolff and you could put him in that Ferrari management right now, and it would be just as bad. I bet you.
yeah, I don't even know. That Mattia Bonotto conspiracy theory is kind of ridiculous because it doesn't benefit Ferrari for them to make Seb bad.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, they're going to get constructors' points. And obviously, they're targeting the constructors, they're targeting third, and they need as much points as they can get from Seb to get third because they need that.
Yeah.
Need that money. So yeah, it just doesn't make sense for these like conspiracy theories. I saw someone comment like Mattia Bonotto is like evil. He's an Italian. Italians are always slimy type. This is what they're saying. And then someone was like, oh, everyone that chooses to wear those type of glasses are untrustworthy. And I'm just like, okay, what are we doing here? Like these are quite funny. I was reading it. I was like, these are making me laugh. But come on, let's let's get back to reality, guys.
I don't think that like the solution is just to have like these like it's just like it feels like in Ferrari like they've just got like musical chairs and like it's like the same like group of people that's just like shifting into the team principal job.
Yeah,
like I feel like there needs to be like a fundamental change to how the Ferrari team
works. They did that
without like just like taking the team principal out and then putting in some random guy, and then there's like the same problems are still there.
Yeah, they did that where in they changed like the structure of the team, but and the head of Ferrari, so like the person in charge at the top, said he doesn't expect to win a race till 2022. So it's obviously taken pressure off of Mattia Bonotto and everyone involved.
Yeah,
I've heard they got like new designers and stuff. So I feel like this is a transitional period for Ferrari. And I feel like this is the first time in a while where they've really taken a step back and they've really looked at where they are as a team and decided this is our target year to do something. We're going to do this, this, and this, and this. And they've really planned it. So I don't expect Ferrari to be terrible for the next few years, but I don't feel like they're going to be where they should be at the top. I feel like they're going to be floating around fourth and third best team, in my opinion, unless Aston Martin come out of nowhere. But like that's the real question mark. If Aston Martin's like a dark horse, or if they're just like there to like
Yeah,
put their badge on an F1 car.
yeah, but yeah. I guess like I don't think we can like do these like Ferrari runs every week
Yeah,
because
because
I think
we've got look how we've got like 4 more weeks of like F1 straight, and if I talk about Ferrari consistently, I'm gonna get grey hairs, or I'm gonna break something.
yeah,
Like, and I can't even imagine
yeah,
how like one of them diehard Ferrari fans that like wear for them Ferrari shoes and stuff. There's Puma Ferrari shoes
yeah,
and like them Ferrari jackets that just walk around in your local city center. I don't know how they feel, bro. They must have killed themselves or something, like committed suicide or
yeah,
something. But anyway,
yeah.
let's get on to
But
AlphaTauri.
AlphaTauri, I guess.
All right,
So yeah, Gasly is just like
this guy,
wow,
this
he's
guy.
like doing such a good job this year.
Yeah,
I don't know.
or that overtaking to Eau Rouge. Or
Yeah,
is it Eau Rouge? Yeah, it's Eau
yeah,
Rouge. Yeah, that was ridiculous.
yeah,
That was an overtake of the race, overtake of the season probably. That was I haven't
yeah,
like when you see and so if someone I've only seen like three cars, three different overtakes into Eau Rouge, like Raikkonen on Schumacher, Alonso, Webber on Alonso, and that one. And every single time I see it, it doesn't get any less like amazing.
yeah,
Um, Yeah, so like when I saw it, I was just like, "Wow, that is ridiculous." And he was on a charge at the beginning, but it's just a shame that safety car happened when it did. If that safety car happened like 30 laps after he wanted it to, he could have finished fifth for all we know.
yeah.
Um,
Um,
yeah,
yeah, but like AlphaTauri had like really good strategy. Like,
mm,
he was able to come through at the end with a really good charge. Able to
mm,
get past Stroll and Perez with like team orders from to get past Kvyat and
yeah,
but yeah, um, like he seems to be like he does this like every weekend where he's just like AlphaTauri doesn't qualify well, but like during the race,
mm,
they Gasly especially seems to just be knocking out the park every weekend.
yeah. Um,
So I guess like ultimately this is like the wider question is like how the Red Bull like driver program is going to work out in the next few years.
yeah. I feel like that's the main thing to like take away from this. 'Cause obviously, well, we didn't get onto Daniel. It wasn't really. It wasn't anything. I feel like Daniel like underperformed that race, especially looking at where what do you call it? Uh, Gasly was. He finished 11th, so it wasn't like terrible. But I feel like he definitely could have got points. Um, Obviously he is getting outperformed this year. This is like the third race in a row where he's finished like 11th or something like that. He always finishes 11th. I feel like that's a sweet spot. But yeah, I feel like he has to be more consistent now in getting points. Like finishing like 8th to 10th is like where AlphaTauri should be fighting for. Obviously, the team that they're going to be fighting is going to be different. It's going to be rotating based on each race because of Renault, McLaren, and Racing Point, just like interchanging. I guess that's just the main point. But yeah. So if I was Daniel, I'd be very disappointed with myself. So, but anyway,
Yeah,
getting back onto the Red Bull driver program. Yeah, this is. I feel like this is just going to be a Pierre versus Alex debate. We're just going to have for like 2 or 3 years if they stay in the top, if AlphaTauri keep Pierre. Going to be like, oh, should Pierre get that Red Bull seat back, or should Alex stay in it? If Alex isn't performing better than how he is now, you know, I feel like
yeah,
the way Alex is performing now, where it's like oh sixth and stuff, isn't good enough not to have any doubt.
yeah,
I feel like if he finished fourth like every single race, everyone would be like, "Oh, there's nothing more he could do because Verstappen is like this one of the best drivers on the grid, and there's the two Mercedes." Yeah.
Yeah.
So like if he like turns it up the next few things and he just gets like the because he's finishing like sixth mostly. So if he gets those two extra positions towards like the end of the race, I feel like his seat is safe no matter what Pierre does. You know, and
Yeah.
that's like
Um. Yeah.
I think that's what it is. But if like Alex gets like a slump where
Um.
he's finishing eighth and stuff and he's fighting Pierre, they're gonna swap him out. I think that's the thing. I think
Yeah.
that's how Helmut Marko is. Because I saw Helmut Marko talking to Pierre before the race, and I was just like, "Oh, this is a bit interesting."
Yeah. Well, like for me, like the wider problem is that I just got an article here and it says I didn't put it in the notes, but so Yuki Tsunoda this weekend won in F2, and so he's getting given an AlphaTauri seat, and
Yeah,
I think it's pretty obvious that next year he's going to get that seat, if he gets enough super license points. I think Honda have always wanted a Japanese driver in one of the Red Bull cars, and Yuki Tsunoda is doing pretty well in F2, and I'd say that Daniel Kvyat is basically, since he was brought in last year and this year, I'd say that he was just kind of like Brendan Hartley, just like a stopgap driver.
yeah. Sorry to interrupt. When at the beginning of the season when Alex was Daniel's teammate, Daniel was like outperforming Alex like significantly. That probably is down to Alex being a rookie, etc. And then
Yeah,
Daniel got a podium in Germany, was a third place, I believe. And then everyone was just like, "Oh yeah, Daniel should get that Red Bull seat or whatever." But then ever since Pierre came back to Toro Rosso or AlphaTauri, he's been like the better driver of the two.
yeah.
Yeah, that's just the point I wanted to point out.
So yeah, it's like just well, Yuki Tsunoda is obviously going to get the AlphaTauri seat in my mind. It's pretty obvious. So what I'm thinking is that the problem with the Red Bull driver program is that it seems like they seem to like bubble up talent, and then everyone leaves, and then they have no one left.
Yeah.
And then they bubble up talent again. So it's like they lost Daniel Ricciardo and Carlos Sainz in the same year, right? So they had like no drivers left. They had to like draft in Brendan Hartley and
yeah, that is kind of insane.
And
they had to bring back Daniel Kvyat after they like.
Yeah, they had to. Yeah, that's what I mean. They had to bring back Daniel Kvyat, and they had no one in their driver program while they brought in Brendan Hartley. So, what I'm thinking is going to happen is that I'm thinking that they're going to bring in Tsunoda, and then Tsunoda is like after a while is going to like the same thing is going to happen, like what happened to Kvyat, where Tsunoda's like going to get promoted to Red Bull or something like that.
Yeah.
Before Gasly, and then like Albon. If like Albon and Gasly were in like AlphaTauri, that would be like they're such good drivers to be in AlphaTauri. You know what I mean? So I feel like they'll eventually move on to like bigger teams if that happens. I'm not saying it definitely will do.
Yeah, that's
and then like Red Bull is just like going to lose like all this like driver talent again.
Yeah, that's the thing with Red Bull. It's like if it was like if you had like a metaphor of like how they set up, it's like more like a what's those, you know, the spiral doors. You know, like the spiral doors where like you push it and you spin. I feel like they put like 5 people in there and they spin and then everyone gets a turn and then leaves. But then if it was more like,
but then they keep like Verstappen or Vettel.
Yeah, but then
if they're winning.
Yeah, basically. But then if it was like a door, like just a normal door, everyone was just waiting their turn and they stepped in and then stepped out. It'd be more efficient. I don't know. I feel like they're just very unlucky with the timing and stuff. Obviously, I don't really. It's not really too bad that they lost. What do you call it? Ricardo. In that year, I don't think losing Ricardo was the worst thing in the world because he was like 30. He is like 30 right now, so he's like getting closer and closer to the end of his career. So, like, but losing Sainz was like a really, really big blow, in my opinion.
Yeah, It's
because
like
like
if they kept Ricardo for the next year, then they wouldn't have had all the problems of like having like Gasly and Albon and like all the like driver shuffle.
yeah, but then no, but then the thing is, it's like science was like I feel like science was more. It was like a bigger impact because that would have been Max's teammate. But then
Yeah,
obviously the way that the engine deal was set up, like there was no way that science was going to stay at that team. It's kind of unfortunate.
yeah. Well, like in 2018, he was like a contracted Red Bull driver driving for Renault, and he was basically on loan, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think maybe the fundamental problem was that they picked Gasly over Sainz. If they didn't do that, I feel like
Yeah, we didn't have this
I
issue
don't
at
know,
all.
we wouldn't like have as many issues, yeah. Because say if they have Verstappen, Sainz, and then Gasly, Albon, I feel like that would be like the best like overall driver lineup.
Yeah, I feel like science is like. I feel like a lot of these Red Bull drivers are outgrowing like AlphaTauri or Toro Rosso like
Yeah,
a bit too quick. Because I remember back F1 where they're like Jaime Alguersuari and Sebastian Buemi just sat. You just remember them just sitting in that Toro Rosso seat for like 5 years and then getting kicked out.
yeah,
But then yeah, everyone was just like, I don't know. They're just like it's not very efficient the way that Helmut Marko like rotates
yeah,
everyone. I feel like he really needs to like analyze everything and everyone. I feel like that was his best.
yeah,
I feel like he kind of bottled it because we could have had when we had Sainz and Max in the Toro Rossos, and what do you call it, Daniel and Ricardo in the Red Bull. I feel like that was his opportunity to like to set everything up nicely or really well because obviously he swapped out Max for Daniel, which was the right move after looking at it. And then eventually after Ricardo left, I feel like Sainz just would have just had the open, like just would have just walked into that team naturally. I feel like that was like the opportunity right there to like really get that driver lineup down to the best possible, down as like as good as it could get, you know. I feel like
yeah.
that was like the opportunity, but I feel like he kind of bottled it.
Yeah, it's like I feel like there's something like wrong with like the Red Bull like main team where it's like I feel like Gasly and Albon shouldn't like be having like as many issues as they are like when they were in the Red Bull team because I guarantee you swap Albon and Gasly, the exact same thing is going to happen. Like I'm so confident that they'll be fighting each other and
Yeah, no,
yeah, so it's like it kind of feels like Red Bull are like there's like leaks everywhere and they're trying to like block all of them up, but
yeah,
like with losing talent because if like Gasly is obviously I feel like he's like now he's proven that he deserves a better seat and
hmm
I don't know, I could see him like going to a better team maybe like 2022, like if you like sort of like like
mm.
sort of like specs out the pecking order, I might be able to like find a better seat eventually.
I think the seat he's gonna get is Renault after Fernando leaves because he is French
Yeah,
driver,
yeah,
French
that's
team.
definitely possible. I'd say.
I feel like Renault are definitely targeting
Yeah,
him, even though I saw a video. What do you call it? Pierre and Esteban don't really like each
oh
other.
yeah, Ocon.
They don't really
Yeah,
like each
yeah,
other,
yeah.
but
But
I feel like there's been plenty of teams where the drivers didn't like each other and they could like carry on. So
yeah, yeah, um, yeah. It's gonna be interesting to see how it works out. But this Sonoda is an interesting one. I'm not sure how it's gonna impact.
yeah, yeah,
But yeah, I guess that's everything. One more article I did want to talk about was the basically Williams got bought out of nowhere.
nice,
Just wanted to bring that up.
nice,
Yeah.
nice.
It seems to be like an
That's
Yeah,
10 years too
it seems
10
to
years
be
too
like
late.
a yeah, yeah. So it's some American investment company. No one really knows who they are. Um,
Rich energy.
I'm pretty sure that like all the yeah, rich energy. Um, I'm pretty sure that like they have complete like control of the team now, and
Mm.
so that's like one thing is that the last like independent like homegrown team is like I think that's basically gone now. Um, but
Yeah,
I feel like that model wasn't gonna work for much longer.
it stopped working after a while anyway.
Yeah. Um, one thing like them being bought out now is like I don't think that Claire like people like to bag on Claire Williams a lot. Um, but it's like I don't feel like she would be in that role for as long as she has been if it hadn't been like the obvious link to like Williams.
Mm. I agree.
So I feel like we could like see like sort of the Alfa Romeo sort of model working becoming like Williams, where it's like there is basically just like a name Williams, and then like everything underneath the surface is going to change.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, Williams like hasn't been a factor for like since like the 90s, like a real force. Maybe like 2000, early 2000s. But
Yeah, maybe when they had BMW, I'd say like they were at least there.
yeah, obviously I feel like when they got the turbo hybrid era just starting, and they were like the third or fourth best team. I feel like that was just purely right place, right time. Because if they didn't have that
Yeah,
Mercedes engine, I don't feel like they'd be anywhere near there. And then obviously when they had the Mercedes
yeah,
engines, they just fell off after a while. So yeah, I feel like the way Williams have like constantly ran their team has just been like the wrong approach in every sense possible. For example,
yeah,
the pay drivers where they picked Maldonado over Nico Hulkenberg when Nico Hulkenberg was like an emerging talent. Um, yeah, just a lot of things were just not right. Um, but yeah, I feel like they were just happy to be on the grid, if that makes sense, with the Williams name.
yeah,
I feel like anyone that's a fan of Williams is like 40 years old, so it doesn't even matter.
yeah. Um, like yeah, with like the driver's point, I don't know if like the new like if the new owners like are willing to invest properly in the team, we could like see something where the Williams don't rely on pay drivers, and I definitely say that Latifi is obviously like a pay driver, and I don't really rate him that highly to be honest from those results I've seen this year.
Yeah.
Um, like he's just been like I don't know. Like Russell is obviously a really good talent, and I don't think I said it first episode. Like I just don't rate Latifi. Like he was in F2 for way too many years, and I think that Williams could do with a better driver.
Yeah, Latifi's parents were interested in buying Williams out, so
Yeah,
that guy needs to be warned. They need to keep an eye on him. They need to keep an eye on him because we don't want. Because I'm sick and tired of like these rich fathers buying the son for their so their teams could like drive so that their child could drive in the F1 team. Like, imagine being that supportive of a parent. That's amazing, isn't it? But anyway, yeah, I don't like how F1 might turn into that. Like,
yeah,
it really gets under my skin when I see that when someone that's not supposed to be anywhere near an F1 car is just chilling in an F1 car because they either have like really good sponsorships because they're the only driver that comes out of that country, or because they what do you call it? Their parents like fund them. Obviously, I don't really have an issue with paid drivers. Like paid drivers, like if someone's really good. For example, Sergio Perez was a paid driver. I feel like he's warranted an F1 drive. could say Lando Norris is a paid driver, even though I feel like he's deserved it. But like past
Fernando Alonso.
Fernando Alonso, like there's like a lot of drivers on the grid where it's like, oh, this driver has like a lot of financial backing, but they're like warrant backing because of their talent. But then there's drivers like
Yeah.
Pastor Maldonado, Esteban Gutierrez,
Lance Stroll.
Lance Stroll, where they're like really just not good and they don't really deserve to be in that F1 seat. I feel like Lance Stroll should have been like out 2 seasons ago, if I'm being 100% honest with you. If like,
Maybe.
if F1 was like any other sport, for example, where it was just based purely on talent and not on money, like it was like football or any of these like other sports that aren't like motorsports, you'd just be seeing a lot of. I feel like you'd see like a few drivers just gone, to be honest, and a few drivers.
I'd say the same for Grosjean as well.
Grosjean. I feel like Grosjean warranted his F1 like driving for F1 at the beginning, at his time in Lotus, where he was like getting podiums and stuff, and his first like few years at Haas. But after that, I feel like he should have been like gone. But
Maybe.
yeah, but like,
but yeah, like with the new investment, I just wanted to say, like with the new like regulations and the cost cap, hopefully like we can just get Williams as like a midfield team, and I just want to like eliminate like the idea of like a backmarker team.
Really,
I feel like if it wasn't for the Ferrari like engine drama, then Haas and Alfa Romeo would be like in the midfield.
Yeah,
and Williams would be at the back. So I feel like Williams need to get up to that level as well.
Yeah,
soon.
Yeah. Anyway, is that everything?
So
not really interested about talking about Alfa Romeo and Haas, to be honest. They're shit this way.
We just do some like quick Monza predictions.
Oh, okay. Ooh, I feel like it's going to be Hamilton, Bottas, Verstappen again.
Really?
Yeah. I feel like the way that track is set up, I don't see. And then, what do you call it? Fastest lap is probably going to be. I want to say Hamilton. I feel like he's going to do what he did at Hungary.
Yeah. I would say Verstappen, Hamilton, and then like let's just chuck in like Ricardo. I don't know.
Not Bottas.
I'm not sure. I don't know.
Okay.
Monza is so unique as a track, so I feel like anything.
I feel like I don't. The track uniqueness is not a factor with that Mercedes. I feel like that Mercedes is just ridiculously fast.
Yeah.
It's like you could put in every single factor in there, and then it's not going to be a factor. But anyway, F1.5, I feel like it's going to be Ricardo, Ocon, Sainz, fastest lap, Norris. I feel like Racing Point. I feel like this just might not be their particular track. I don't know what Racing Point's track is exactly. You keep saying, Racing Point track, but yeah, so this might not be their track, I don't think.
F1.5, let's say like Ricardo, Ocon, and Stroll, I guess, and then fastest lap, just say Ricardo. But yeah, it should be an interesting one. Hopefully.
I think it is.
I haven't looked at the weather forecast, but I don't know. I feel like Monza is
it's not going to rain.
A pretty good track. Like you always,
unless it's really hot,
it probably won't rain.
Unless it's really hot.
Or we just need to bake it for the first like.
I come up with that. I come up with that idea.
4 days of the week, just bake the track.
Yeah, I think basically 4 days before the race, they should shoot smoke into the atmosphere and create artificial rain. That is, if they do that, we can get some really exciting races. I'm telling you. Remember they did that. If you remember Beijing 2008 Olympics, the month before the Olympics, they used to shoot these things into the sky to make it rain. So then when it was like Olympic when the Olympics came around, it didn't rain at all. So big brain thinking.
Yeah,
So like,
yeah,
so like we have to select really good wet weather races. You know, for example, Hockenheim.
yeah.
Just make Hockenheim a wet race like throughout the whole thing. Or they should put like Hockenheim.
Turn up to like Montreal in like December and it's just
Yeah,
snowing
and just
and
snowing. And then
yeah,
they have to bring a new tire specification where it's like, what do you call it? Yeah, they have to bring snow tires into F1. That'll really be interesting.
yeah. It's like when it snowed at preseason testing, they had like those tires with like the spikes in it just on display. That was pretty funny.
Yeah, that is really cool. I wonder like what an F1 car would look like
Yeah.
in the snow.
Oh, they did like Red Bull. Red Bull did like the one where he's driving on the mountain.
Yeah, no, but
That was Verstappen.
that doesn't count, man. That doesn't count.
But yeah. Hopefully it's all right race. I think it'll be really close to the midfield because
Yeah,
just like imagining all those cars going down the straight with DRS going into the first chicane, it could be a really good race. I think.
yeah. It's gonna be a long race as well with the amount of laps, because considering how short it is.
Yeah, but it's a fast race. That's what you got to look at as a fast race. So it should be the quickest race of the year, I think.
Oh, you reckon? Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway,
The speed is the average speed is so high. So
yeah. No, is that everything?
that is everything, I think.
All right.
We got the new like Twitter for the channel. We got that nice handle, no underscores. So
At break unbiased.
yeah, it sure is.
It sure is.
But yeah. Thank you for watching. Give us a follow if you'd be so kind. So
Yeah, donate.
yeah, give us some bits in the chat.
Yeah, some bits. Donate. I want some gold on Reddit. Donate.
Yeah.
I'm joking. I don't even use Reddit like that.
Yeah. Thanks for watching.